May 25th, 2020, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 8:01 p.m. It's an ordinary day. On this day, George Floyd walks into a convenience store and to go buy some items. And while being at the store, he decided to pay for these items with a bill that allegedly was counterfeit. Soon as the cashier thought this was counterfeit, they immediately contacted the Minneapolis PD, who immediately placed George Floyd into custody and escorted him outside. And while they were outside, after having difficulty of putting him into the vehicle, George Floyd ended up on the ground right next to the patrol vehicle, where we saw Derek Chauvin, sergeant, officer, training officer, whatever he is, decides to put his hands in his pocket, place his knee on George Floyd's neck, and publicly executes him in front of everybody. This sparked public outrage like no other. I mean, everybody began to protest. There was just mass hysteria, and good reasons. You had an officer, a white officer, with his hands in his pocket, putting his knee on a man's neck and killing him in front of everybody. We had outrage. We had protests. We had looting. We had damage to property, damage to the police department, damaged. A lot of injuries, death even. There's a lot of stuff that the media did not tell everybody about. But today, while the media was trying to cover up some stuff while this was going on, there was hate crimes going on, alleged hate crimes, and we're going to discuss a couple of those today here on the Justice Blast Media. May 31st, 2020, Victorville, California, 6 a.m. That morning, the body of Malcolm Harsch, 38-year-old black male originally from Ohio, was found hanging from a tree in a homeless encampment. He was found by other homeless transient people and his girlfriend, who he was arguing with earlier that night, even arguing so much to the point where the police was actually called out 3 hours prior to his death. The young Mr. Harsch apparently was arguing throughout the night with his wife, with his girlfriend more or less, about them both being unfaithful. And through all his argument, he ends up hanging himself. No more than a few days after they found him hanging, they wanted to close the books on this case, saying that it was a suicide, not even completely investigating the whole thing. No foul play, like they always say, no foul play. Automatically a suicide. Of course, the family didn't think it was a suicide because, again, I mean, what black man wants to hang himself, right? So the family fought against it. And the San Bernardino County Sheriff Department immediately just stuck with this and said, no, no, this case is closed. This is apparently a suicide. Just roughly 10 days later, June 10th, 2020, Palmdale, California, at 3 a.m. in the morning. A young man by the name of Robert Fuller, 24 years old, just 24 years old, was found hanging from a tree in front of the City Hall building. Now, this incident sparked riots, not so much riot, but protests. Black Lives Matter actually showed up. And the protest was the first thing the family said is that no, this is not a suicide. But of course, Palmdale, California PD immediately said it was a suicide. Never fully investigated. In fact, the FBI had to step in and investigate it. They immediately stated, this is a suicide. But the family, again, they did not want to believe that their child, 24 years old, would hang himself. And of course, you wouldn't think that. Again, this is, we don't want this to be something that we go back to because, again, this is part of our history, a horrible part of our history. Black Lives Matter came out. We had activists show up, and it was just a scene, a glorious scene. Nobody wanted to believe that this young man would hang himself, especially in the matter of hanging himself in front of City Hall. The funeral was horrible. I mean, it was a beautiful funeral. I guess you can call it a beautiful funeral, but again, this young man laying in a coffin, his friends passing by, everybody's wondering, why would you hang yourself? And yes, the media did not broadcast, they did not stay on this. They was in sweep with the protest of George Floyd. They never ever talked about this. Maybe a scene here, a scene there, about the two men found hung in Southern California. But that's what media does, right? They want to keep us blind. They want to keep us blind. But again, this is revisionist history. And not even today, it's revisionist history that media sweeps up under the rug. We won't sweep it up on the rug. Injustice Blast Media. Here, we put injustice and systematic racism on blast.